Welcome to the Recreation and Parks Commission for Tuesday, July 21st, 2026. And we'll call this meeting to order and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. And if I may ask our council member Jackie to lead us in the pledge, please. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Potter. Here. Commissioner Wendell.
Here.
Vice Chair Lujan.
Here.
And Chairperson Andre Pitchley.
Here.
We do have a quorum, Mr. Chair, and you may begin the meeting.
Thank you. Item 3, adoption of the agenda. So would the commissioners let me know if they see anything that they have a question about? Otherwise, I'll need a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Item 4, public comment. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the Recreation Commission on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. The Commission Chair reserves the right to limit the speaker's time to 3 minutes. You are not allowed to make personal attacks on individuals or make comments which are slanders or which may invade an individual's personal privacy. Do we have anybody from the public wishing to speak on a matter not on the agenda? Thank you. We have none. So on to 4.1, oral communication. Director, do you have anything?
None.
None? Okay.
And no written.
No written. 4.2. Okay, so we're on to item 5, discussion topics. 5.1, approve Recreation and Parks Commission meeting meeting minutes for April 21st, 2026. That was several months ago. So if you need a moment just to peruse those, let me know if you see anything that's outstanding. And if nothing, if we can get a motion to approve the minutes.
I got a motion.
Do we have a motion to approve? Do we have a second? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Our minutes from April 21st are adopted. 5.2, Parks and Recreation Month. Dennis, I'm going to just tee it over to you, and then you can toss it right back to me if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, let's start there. This is one of our first years. I know my first year here that I was able to implement and hopefully start a new tradition in regards to identifying July as Parks and Recreation Month. This is a tradition that has started with National Recreation and Parks Association. Ideally, next calendar year or next year, I'd like to bring this to commission first, so then that way we can have a little more pomp and circumstance at the city council meeting. This year it was a little backlogged and we were able to kind of take it to commission. So thank you to city council and to Mayor Gottberg for being able to do that. But most importantly, I wanted to also give our commission a chance to speak a little bit on the value of our service provides and how essential those types of programs and certain things that we do in our community and how it benefits our residents and visitors. With that, Chair,
Okay.
I turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. So for those of you who don't know, Parks and Recreation Month was started by NRPA, the National Recreation and Park Association, in 1985. And it was established to highlight the essential role that parks and recreation professionals play in community building and conservation. And I worked in the field for 33 years. Dennis reminded me that we go back a ways when he worked in Oakley, and I wouldn't even know what date to put on that, early 2000s maybe. But you know, he was talking about programs that we were both involved in, and how with very little resources we were able to figure out, you know, in our respective organizations, how to make these programs happen and to provide a recreational opportunity for our residents, and especially kids. And I wanted to go through here just real quick on the some areas it points out in the proclamation, and then just give the other commissioners, just if you something strikes you that you want to bring up, I'd appreciate it. But one of those things is one of the things that Parks and Recreation professionals do is they help to build strong, vibrant, and resilient communities through the programming they deliver, the special events they host or they partner on, and the facilities they provide. And I don't know if there's been an impact on any of you that you would want to you know, just mention here. Not yet. We're almost there. Yeah. But that first one, the first whereas, and again, this is the power of Parks and Recreation. And so I'll start that, you know, for me, I walk my dog every day. Ran into Jackie, I think, what, a week ago or so over at City Park. And that has resulted in me meeting people on our walks, whether we're going down Main Street, but typically on the trail or in the parks. I'm meeting Terry with his dog Lola, and Steve, who doesn't have a dog but always says hi to me. And you know, we end up, after several encounters, we are learning a little bit more about each other, and I feel like I'm a more part of the community than I ever was in anywhere else that I've lived. So I don't know if any of you have experienced something similar. Yeah.
I go to Goldbug Park pretty much 4 times a week, sometimes 7, with my dog Percy. And I meet people on the trail constantly. What I like most about that is what's going on at Goldbug, because people are starting to get the word out that things are happening in Goldbug. New benches, new picnic benches, cutting clearing is happening. It's a really, really neat park. So when I look at parks in general, I like Goldbug, and I meet a lot of new people there. So it does bring the community together.
Okay.
For me, I would say Lions Park is a favorite for me, especially for all the group activities that I do. I feel like it's easier to fit more people there, especially because I do run my daughter's Girl Scout troop. So we've actually done a handful of activities at Goldbug Park. Even just recently, we planned an entire scavenger hunt for our Girl Scout troop at Lions Park. And it was really nice being able to use some of the different landmarks for that particular activity for our girls. I'm also very, very into the recreation side. I really like events. So the events that the public volunteers and partners with the city that are really meeting, excuse me, sorry, been a little under the weather for a few weeks now. The parade, I love the parade. I love going with my family. I love going with friends. I think it's positive, happy event, and so I really like that. I also like the Halloween event that's partnered with some of our merchants and the businesses in the city. So to me, some of these hallmark traditions are very impactful for me, for the family and the fun activities, because I am very much, I like the busy activities. So that's what I enjoy.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I love looking at the when during the summertime, because as we all know, there's not a lot for kids to do in town a lot of times, especially during the summer if they're a little older, mid school. It's fun to watch kids come in from the pool, you know, after they've been swimming and whatnot, just happy as heck. And I have to agree with you, Halloween's pretty cool too.
Okay, some of the other things that the proclamation points out is that we provide residents and visitors with access to exceptional parks, trails, and recreational opportunities. And, you know, I always, in the agencies I worked in, I always talked about how parks were infrastructure. And, you know, it's not the same as roads and sewers and water, but it's infrastructure that needs to be taken care of. You make that investment, and you have to think about how are we going to maintain that infrastructure going into the future, because it's you've got safety concerns there. You know, not only do you want it to be safe and green, you want it to be, or clean and safe, you want it to be clean and green, you want it to be safe. And so you do need to make those investments in those things. And it's parks and recreation professionals who push for those improvements that is important. Hopefully everybody's seeing that, but you do need an advocate within the organization to do that. And that would be Dennis and Mo and future professionals like Randy, currently an intern with us now. They promote physical and mental well-being, support youth development, foster social connection and belonging, and provide inclusive opportunities for people of all ages, economic vitality by enhancing property values. There have been studies done in the past that show that the closer you live to a park, the more valuable your property is. And so therein is the importance of why you need to keep investing in your parks, because you're doing something that is helping the value of homes nearby and overall the quality of life in the community. Parks and natural areas protect the environment. Now, this is an area where it sounds like we have a commissioner who says we could do a little better, and that's good. We probably should do a little better. I'll let Michael talk about what he's concerned about.
I would like the city to consider not using some of the sprays and chemicals they use in the parks, along the trails and what have you, on the streets. There's ways we can fight weeds and insects naturally, and it's been proving over and over and over again. So I'd like to see you get away from the glyphosates that we use. I appreciate that.
But just the green spaces and the trails in and of themselves are contributing to the health and well-being of our residents, and are good for our local wildlife. And hopefully those habitats are thriving with the type of flora and fauna that are beneficial to our community. And then the last part here is just that it's the volunteers, it's the dedicated staff, it's the community partners, it's our. I want to thank you, commissioners, because you're a part of this too. That we're involved in the delivery of high-quality parks programs and experiences. We help to advise Dennis and staff on things, and that's important to help move these things forward and into the community where they have that positive impact. And then, the last thing here, the quality of life for all who live, work, and visit our community. And I know that police and fire are essential services. No one's arguing that, and I would never want to try and go up against a badge when it comes to, who gets the money. But we can play a positive role in helping to reduce juvenile crime, in creating positive interaction between neighbors to help reduce conflicts, and we can put on those type of events that just help people take greater pride in their community. So with that, Dennis, I'd like to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. I think this is not just a valuable opportunity for us to reflect on all the great things that our staff have done, but also start to take measurement on where we're headed, right? And so we want to be able to have that vision. And I think through this storytelling and sharing and creating community through people, parks, and programs, I believe this definitely allows us to set that North Star and say, okay, look, we want to enrich the certain things that we have, and there are going to be steps and actions that we want to take as we move forward. So thank you, Commissioner and Chair, for your time in reflecting on how important recreation and parks are to our community and within our city.
And then Dennis, you had a member of council here. Did you?
You could open up for public comment if you'd like.
Okay.
I think that's fair as part of each other.
She's giving me the signal, so we're good there. But thank you for
I
being
know
here.
it is the Vice Mayor, but I won't put a time on it. I'm just kidding.
And again, appreciate you pushing this through, and we'll look forward to this next year.
Thank you very much.
So that we can be a part of that. Let's go to 5.3, welcome new team members. Dennis.
Thank you very much again. With everything that's happening in our city, I find constantly over the last 2 years that I've been here that individuals who are passionate about serving the community do it because they have a great heart. And we are very, very fortunate to have two individuals here tonight, Miss Wendy Vick and Randy, our intern. I'm going to basically just give a brief introduction, but I'm going to let them speak for themselves for a little bit. If you want to introduce yourself and share a little bit about what your favorite color is, perhaps some of your favorite recreational hobbies. I don't want to put you on the spot or anything. But with that said, I will say this. Wendy has been committed to our department for an extended period of time. I wouldn't even be able to, off the top of my head, tell you what that number is, but she's been a part of our community, not just at Lions Park and within softball, but she's done amazing things within the time that she's been here. So we've recently hired her to backfill for that full-time community service specialist position. And Randy is serving his internship through a partnership that was created between Cal State University East Bay, formerly known as Cal State Hayward. But with that, I want you to join me in welcoming them to our team. And you really don't have to share, but thank you guys and very, very much. I want to introduce you guys. Come on.
You need to go up to the microphone. Yes, you do.
Yeah, I like it. So now you know the 15-second rule.
So we're touching on the amount of stuff that I've been involved in the community with the department. We think I've been involved since about 2015 or 16. Monique brought me in to help her with the basketball program, so I've been working with the basketball program since then, 1 or 2 years off in between. But in addition to that, I've also been really involved in coaching youth basketball, soccer. I just really love working with the kids and being able to guide them and hopefully be a good mentor, show good morals and team sportsmanship and the things that aren't about only winning a game, but what you learn in life. So that's kind of what always drove me to stop looking at me. Want to be a part of this organization and be able to be a part of it all these years and be able to encourage others to become involved. We were talking the other day about when we need coaches, and for 20 years, I've been working either with soccer. I was 14 years on the soccer board as the registrar and kind of was running that one. And just over that whole time, you learn how to recruit those people that you need to step up without breaking their arms, and just encouraging them. What they get out of it is the experience of working with the children and being able to guide them as well. So that's kind of one of my favorite parts about when you do need to find a coach, is you generally know the right people and put them in those positions. So I've just been doing this for a really long time, even prior to working here, but I've been working here for a really long time too. So I thank Dennis for the opportunity that he's given me to be able to really engulf myself into the work and try to present good programming. So that's my story.
Thank you, Wendy.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Randy. I've met a couple of you folks. So I've been a resident of Placerville for over a decade. I come from about 35 years ago is when I started my career in recreation as a guard in the East Bay. Worked my way up to a lot of coaching myself. Ran some lesson programs, got involved with the YMCA, and decided to leave all that behind me for a little break and come start a family up here. So I really love the time that I've been able to get to know Placerville and all of the beautiful parks. I take my kids to Goldbug, Lions, everywhere out here, especially the pool. And so that's kind of it's been real special to get back next to the programming, which really lights my candle. It's why I got back into recreation. and why I'm doing this a little bit later in life, because it means a lot to me. It means a lot to my own children, and I see the outpouring of support from everybody at the pool this summer, and I hope to goodness that we can keep it going. But I really want to thank Dennis for the opportunity to get back into what makes me go, and wherever I end up, I hope to have a great team like these ladies and everybody else I've worked with this summer. So thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Okay, let's keep moving on here. We'll go to item 5.4, CSD Department or Community Services Department fees. Dennis.
Thank you, Chairperson Andre. Before you tonight is a staff report that I printed hard copy. I was unable, I was still kind of working on it to provide it in advance. There are copies in the back, and these will be available to the public online as well. Before I jump in, you're welcome to stay, or you are welcome to dismiss yourself. I know this is really exciting for everyone, so.
We just have a birthday dinner to get.
Good chance. Yep.
I'm going to take 1 second though, and also thank Monique for all the support for like 20-something years. She's always had my back.
Yeah.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
That's funny because Mo has my back too. Do you want to say anything too? No? Okay. You sure? Okay. But in the essence of making sure that I'm clear to communicate item 5.4, I provided hard copies to the commissioners tonight, and I'm actually going to read through this so that we can all be very specific about what I'm trying to explain around our fee schedule. I'm requesting and recommending that you support and approve the director to present a resolution to City Council for a fiscal year 2026 and 2027 Community Service Department fee schedule, which is currently in draft. In addition to that, I would like to recommend over the next couple of months, before we get it formally adopted, structure in regards to a resident discount. As part of that future planning, I would like to present a cost recovery model effective in 2028. This is going to be a very important but long and strategic journey in regards to ensuring that not only are we able to sustain our current services, but to identify which services the residents value most. And some of those experiences and formulations will be explained throughout the report. Some background. To standard in January, the California state minimum wage increases are based on the Department of Industrial Relations annual wage adjustments. The annual wage increase has a direct financial impact on the City of Placerville Community Services Department part-time staffing costs. In accordance with this schedule, the Community Service Department typically offsets those adjustments periodically by increasing program fees proportionately to protect the city's financial liabilities. This current practice calculates certain department fees to include part-time staff, contractual service, and certain direct materials or supplies. The common practice does not include overhead and other operational costs in CSD fees. On average, this fee development places a subsidy cost on the city's general fund for services and programs. Currently, the CSD does not have a formal cost recovery model. To sustain parks and recreation services, it is recommended to account for all direct and indirect costs to a certain extent in order to develop fiscally responsible fees. The Community Service Department must consider including material and labor costs, such as but not limited to administrative maintenance, processing, and operating overhead to operate the department's services. Increasing fees appropriately will support long-term sustainability of recreation programs, park use, trail management, and creek maintenance. Incrementally, increasing revenue to compensate for rising costs in goods and services allows CSD to focus on balanced income and expenses accordingly. The inclusive costs may or may not include full-time, part-time staff, maintenance, utility costs, depreciation, and overhead. This should be scaled on the cost recovery model I have hopefully planned for 2028. To accomplish this task, the modeling must occur over the next fiscal year. The modeling should include restructuring the formula of calculation of fees, inclusion of a scaled cost recovery model, community survey data, which we're working on this evening, and a recognized fee schedule. These steps provide the framework for city leaders to determine the cost benefit of each level in the recovery model. Staff recognize the importance of programs remaining self-supporting, the importance of balancing revenue and expenditures within all programs and services. The higher the benefit, the lower the cost recovery. The lower the benefit, the higher level of cost recovery. For tonight's discussion, I would like to outline a few steps that will follow over the next few months. The first step is to establish a formatted CSD fee schedule with suitable fees for all programs and services, to compile a vast range of existing fees and establish a baseline of current rates. I'll pause here briefly because one of your attachments is a larger document that is the compiled fee schedule. That's this, yes. Today's fees, yes, correct. Yes, Mr. Potter, that is correct, today's fees. Step 2 will continue over the next month while staff continue to survey similar agencies, analyze user data, and draft proposed rates to generate a moderate amount of cost recovery in preparation for 2028's cost recovery model. If adopted by City Council in October of 26, the new fees will begin in January 1st of 2027 for all services and programs provided by CSD. The proposed fee increase for 2027 should be incremental to offset expenses resulting from new part-time pay scale, administrative processing, program planning, market inflation, and moderate overhead costs. The fiscal year 2026 and 2027 is aimed to cover all essential costs and will not be fully inclusive of a full cost recovery model. It is important to be mindful that a high percentage of the current fees have not been adjusted since 2006. In September of this year, staff will return with the proposed fee schedule and a baseline and modified cost recovery model to increase for the 2027 calendar year. This transition year allows the city to provide education to the community, formulate processes and procedures to develop a fiscally responsible fee structure in preparation for fiscal year 27 and 28. By the start of 28, staff anticipates presenting a formal cost recovery model focusing on defining appropriate cost recovery levels, whereas the greater benefit to the community incurs the least amount of cost recovery and the lesser of the benefit of the higher percentage cost recovery is applied. My recommendation tonight is to provide feedback for the revision and review this and your feedback at the August 18th Recreation and Parks Commission meeting. I'll continue to attachment A. Attachment A includes user-based fees that include facility use, participation fees, street closures, trail use, parking lot fees, aquatic rentals, special interest classes, and potential donation programs, which we've had and we've established for some time. But as you know, and everyone knows, as inflation goes up, the cost of a bench is not what the cost of a bench was in 2006. Unfortunately, it might have gone up over the last 20 years. I don't mean to be facetious, but you get my tone. With that said, I'll allow you some time to kind of go through a couple of these pages while I highlight a few of these understandings. We have an amazing asset in our pickleball court, and we have phone calls on a regular basis in regards to renting out the pickleball courts or wanting to do special events. And we also have a very, very big group of users that are currently residents and very, very passionate about pickleball use. We don't have a structure. We don't have any programs to date we do have planned programs, but at this point, that asset could be utilized to help with some of this cost recovery model. That's on page 1. And these are conversations we need to have in regards to what our future plans are. On page 2, if you'll notice, under the Main Street banner, where it says banner over Main Street, The cost in Group C is $388. If we take a little bit of time and reflect back, that cost was actually $200. This is one of our only fee structures that we have within our department that captures not just some of the processing fees, but some of those staffing fees. And so these pass-through fees allow us to be able to provide that service for downtown and install or remove that banner without impacting the general fund. Does that make sense? On the following page, if you notice, there are certain closures that we do, bell tower closure. Some of those fees definitely vary because we have been, or our staff and myself, have been incrementally including direct costs. Meaning, whereas the city used to cover all of those costs, whether it was the parade or whether it was the tree lighting or whether it was Oktoberfest, we're able to utilize billable rates and calculate what the actual costs are. I would like to be able to, over the next year, kind of define that to make it a little easier for people to understand and have some baseline costs. So then that way we're not spending our time constantly having to calculate some of those things. So that's why some of those things were included on there. On the final page of the full master fee schedule, there's also, actually, I take that back. I apologize. I misspoke. The second to the last one where it has the special interest classes and some of those sports camps. Overall, a high percentage of our current classes are provided by contractual services, meaning if we want to teach a class and the class is $100, in some cases the city will take 60% and then the instructor will take 40%. Some of those newer camps that we've been trying to launch to provide a little bit more versatility and a little more programming to our young people, we could operate those internally, and 100% of those, 100% of that revenue would come back as part of that cost recovery. What I'm hoping for tonight is to be able to hear some feedback in regards to where you, what is your feedback around some of the groups, which is on the first page. And then secondly, I want to have a little conversation around attachment B, because I think this is going to help us to kind of understand where we're headed with this. If you notice, attachment B is a sample from a sister agency, and I'll kind of hold it up for everybody to see, and it's going to be available online. This pyramid identifies 5 specific levels of direct or indirect benefit to the community. Whereas at the bottom of the pyramid, it is non-programmed park and recreation facilities, in where item 1 is the cost recovery percentage is different. I'll explain it a little more in depth if we take a look at the top of the pyramid in where period 5, it is, in section 5, it is highly individual, specialized. Meaning they want to learn a specific stroke, whether it has to do with aquatics. They want to work on their butterfly. There's a very small populace in regards to that specialty niche, in regards to what kind of fee model we want to be able to provide. So if that's the case, the cost recovery model would be scalable. Whereas if it is a general program towards the bottom of the pyramid, the cost recovery would be lower. Correct? With that said, there are a few other things I do want to highlight as we open up this for questions and for conversation. There are going to be cases in where other departments definitely have an impact on some of the things that we do. For example, special events. For street closures, those direct billable rates, whether it comes with an overhead and it includes some of the indirect costs, we have to include those things into our fees. There's no way around it. We have to be able to recover those components, right? However, if it has to do with another similar type of service that we provide or program, such as swimming lessons, where if we identify swimming lessons as something essential that is important for us to be able to provide for families and to children because it saves lives, then that cost recovery percentage within that model would be lower. right? And so it's scalable to that point. This allows staff to do two things. Number one, present a fee schedule at the beginning of the year. So when we design our budget, we're not waiting. Are we going to have to increase for minimum wage? Is softballs going to go up? Who's paying for the chalk? Where are the dodgeballs coming from? This allows us to be strategic, not only in our short term, but also in our long-term planning. And when we're able to do that long-term planning, we'll be able to account for all of those costs based on what our revenues are, balanced against our expenditures. In some cases, as an example, one of our programs and our leagues, we generate around $95,000 a year. Our expenses are $105,000. So we subsidize that around $10,000, which makes sense if I tell you the program. The program's youth basketball. It's preventative. It gets kids involved. It helps with their health and wellness. So we would potentially identify that. Is that essential? Is that something we want to be able to provide? And is that an appropriate level of percentage of subsidy to be able to provide to that league? Whereas softball rentals for tournaments, which includes lights, water, staff maintenance for dragging the field, and they pay $200. So there's a little bit of a dichotomy there, right? With that said, I do not have all the answers, but I'm happy to work with you to find them because I think this is a journey that we're all going to enjoy because we want to be able to provide the best service absolutely possible that our residents deserve. I'm available for questions, and I'm open to your dialogue and feedback. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dennis. Commissioners, any questions?
I got a question, Dennis. Is there, did we do a study on what other cities are doing, somewhat the same size, what they're charging for the same programs? Didn't we do that last year? Something similar to that?
We've started, and in full transparency, I didn't understand how vast our fee schedules were because they were in multiple places.
Okay.
So we have the foundation of it where we've been slowly gathering certain pieces. I could tell you, for example, we did a little bit of research this morning. Pickleball courts, in some cases, $15 an hour, $17 an hour. So yes, to your question, my answer is we've started that process, but we haven't finished it.
I think we'll have a better understanding and have more questions if we had something to go against, to not go against, but to compare prices per prices, similar sized cities, if we can do that.
Benchmark market comparisons.
I think so. I'll have more questions then. But the prices have to go up, Dennis. From 2006 or the same price in 2000, it doesn't work. It's just not a good business model.
I think we have room to grow as far as raising some of the fees on some programs, and I think that there's a big opportunity. I think what you were saying about the youth basketball to even make up for that revenue by really aggressively going after sponsorships and whatnot. And I know you guys are working on that too. But even as a local business owner, I recently found out that I could sponsor a T-shirt or whatever for those guys and that kind of thing. And I think those things, if we, kind of similar to how you raise money for the pool this year by having DJ or TJ go out and, get some sponsorships, I think there's an opportunity to maybe make up for some of that loss if you go out to some of the local businesses who do take a lot of your resources to make money, to give a little bit back as well, to help these offset some of these costs. I mean, the T-shirts especially could probably something that could be really done by one or two merchants anywhere in the city of Placerville.
I think kind of adding on to that, if you look at the last page of the master fee schedule, there's certain enhancements that we collect some donations on, which we're still kind of using, but we need to obviously go up on. So like, for example, if someone wanted to buy a life jacket, at that point when we priced it, it was like, hey, I could buy a life jacket for $15, or water volleyball game for $450. I think hearing you kind of dialogue with me, I think I'll add a blue line there and put in that sponsorship piece. I think that's a good idea. Because
And also-
we have a banner program that we
Right.
use at Lions Park. You know, we need to price out some of that stuff, and realistically, why not be able to put in some of that?
And also, I mean, maybe I've missed it, but this information about donating, maybe getting that out a little bit more too.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you want to help the city out here? Help us with these, blah, 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 blah. Because I didn't know, a lot of this stuff, I mean, yeah, that'd be kind of cool. You know, you need to get some life jackets for the kids and, you know, what's $90 or whatever.
Yep.
Commissioner Lujan, did you have anything?
I think for me, it's a little challenging to provide detailed feedback since we didn't get this packet in advance. So it's a little more challenging to look at this detailed chart, at least for myself. The other thing I was trying to piece together is the cost recovery model plan for 2028. So I was trying to look at this and is this the cost recovery plan or these numbers, or are these just the current rates that's in this master fee schedule?
The rates you have in front of you that's on that spreadsheet is what our current rates are.
Okay. So
My hope for 2027 is to kind of incrementally go up and kind of recover some, because I feel like if we go up too fast, too hard,
Right.
it's going to be crazy, right? And so give us time. And I apologize for not providing it in advance, so I totally understand, which is why I kind of feel like this is our baseline and our first step towards it, because I think over the next month, we'll be able to pull back a little bit more, get the market information, and then at the same time, for 2028, I believe that this is a sample of a cost recovery model that we should probably really take a look at and say to ourselves, do we want to be able to identify our own cost recovery model? Because at the end of the day, I could come up here and I could tell you every February, which we've been doing which has been our practice. Hey, by the way, minimum wage is going to go up. Hey, by the way, minimum wage is going up. And then I'm just pulling all over the place. Hey, we're going to do flag football. Hey, we're going to do basketball. Hey, we're going to do this. Hey, we're going to do that. What is our cost recovery model? Give staff the framework so we know what policy is saying. And then at the same time, every year, like clockwork, January. Now we're not chasing our tail, and I'm not looking for 17 different documents that say, oh, by the way, this guy could pay $40 for a rental, but down the hill, they're charging like 90 to 100.
So I think for me, hearing your thoughts on that is, since these are the current fee schedules, I think the component of what the actual cost recovery model is isn't in this chart, and I get that this is the beginning of this idea to present to City Council. So I think what would be helpful is to identify going forward, what does the actual recovery model look like? Is it a percentage? Is it, because I think looking at, I mean, there's a lot of things in this list. You know, there's the gazebo. Okay, how much is staff? How much is it just the public paying the fee, and then the public is supposed to clean up after themselves? And so is it, you know, is there a cost recovery that the staff has to come back and check that the gazebo is maintained after? I'm sure there's different check marks. So I think it's very broad. And so, or like you mentioned, the softball, you know, they're paying this for, what did you say? I think it was lights and water you mentioned, or?
They pay for the dragging of the fields. If it's during the evening time, they'll pay for, we pay for the lights. They basically just pay $200 to use the field, and then we provide the utilities and the maintenance to drive the field. In some cases, certain individuals organizations utilize it, they'll do the lines.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm wondering. It's like, okay, is it the only people using it? Are the lights automatic? Do they come on at a certain hour? Is that just for football only? You know, so I think there's a lot of variables in each individual circumstance. Whereas some things we're already super aware of, like the pool, for example, we already know that's operating at a major deficit. Can we ever charge the public enough to compensate? That's a pretty big hole. So I think it's really circumstantial based on each itemized piece in this fee schedule. So perhaps the cost recovery model maybe if we could simplify it so it makes it easier, is maybe looking, does it need to be increased by a certain percentage? Because otherwise, like for example, the banner, that was a pretty big jump in price from what it was being charged before. And it was very clear, like, okay, there is a deficit, it's a pretty big deficit, so let's increase this one particular item. So I'm wondering, is that something you're trying to do for each individual thing to try to figure out that loss? Or is it easier to just put a percentage together for this very large list? So that'd be kind of my question to you. I realize that this is the beginning of the idea process, but I would like to see a little bit more narrowed down. What is the cost recovery plan going forward? Is it a percentage, or are you trying to piece it out piece by piece? That would be my
And to piggyback off of
Question.
Larissa, it depends upon how many people are participating in a certain program as well. So you go percentages or you go individual cost. So there's a lot to it. Thank you for that. That was very helpful.
Before we open up to the public or individuals who want to share too, because I want this to be a dialogue, I'm very transparent, so I'm just going to say it like it is. What I don't want us to do, and what I want to prohibit, whether it's the public or commission or council, is I don't want to get too granular, right? I don't want to get down to, well, this guy's selling me softballs for 55 cents, but this guy over here is selling me softballs for 50 cents. Why aren't you going to this guy for 5 cents? And then all of a sudden we're spending time talking about, well, they were only here for 20 minutes and they're only here for 30. I don't want to get into the weeds, and I don't want to be granular. So I think you bring up an excellent point in regards to, okay, then identify, for me, I'm asking, identify what are those things that are important to our community based on our survey. And then when we're basing it on our survey, what those priorities and what those essential, what they want and what they need, then we come up as a group and we present it to City Council. We add in community meetings. We meet with the neighbors. We talk. Maybe people live next to the pickleball court, and I'm joking because I can see Jackie listening. Maybe they don't want the tournaments out there, or they don't want to occupy 50% of the courts with classes. Maybe they like some of those things. So I'm not going to go in and be like, hey, we should charge $50 for pickleball and do all these other elaborate things when we haven't even checked with the community. We haven't had a chance to figure out essentially what our priorities are. The cost recovery model allows me to draw some lines and say, okay, what percentage do you want to subsidize softball? What percentage do you not want to subsidize adult sports? What percentage do you want to subsidize the aquatics? Because I think philosophically from that standpoint, when we put those guidelines together, that gives staff traction to be able to go back and say, well, and I'm making this up, they do want pickleball, but we want it to be for the residents. And then at that point, if we already know that 70% of our aquatics participants are from outside the city, outside our city limits, then what does a resident discount look like? And that's another component of that piece, because if they're living and paying taxes and shopping in the city of Placerville, there should be a benefit to being a resident within the city of Placerville. But if we don't have the model, and I don't really hear from the community or hear from commissioners or get feedback from city council, I don't feel comfortable me establishing what those percentages are. I want to make sure that I'm hearing from the residents and the people that I serve on what they feel is most important to them. So to your point, I think you bring up a good thought, is what do we want our pyramid to look like? We're Placerville. What is important to us, right? Because something in Placerville may not be important down the hill, right? So I think that's very important too.
I think the pricing, the cost and pricing recovery pyramid is a great model to follow, because it's easy to understand. At the base is the greatest value to the general public, and then as you go up the pyramid, it becomes more specific or more to a specific group, a couple of people or an individual. So you would price accordingly for individual benefit, that they would carry more of the cost. Is this something? Does the city have a book of fees or a book of city imposts where all services throughout the city are are identified and there's an associated cost with that is passed on?
I do believe that there are fees in
Okay.
this department, and I understand that most of the development components and some of those pieces that are kind of above my knowledge are kind of there. But as far as I know, I don't believe that we have one centralized book of fees.
Okay, so is there already a fee schedule that's been adopted by council
In regards
to what,
Community
to all of this,
services?
to all of this stuff? Yeah.
up until this point, no. Every
Okay, all
program
right.
has come individually, every fee has come individually.
Okay, so I was asking a question that I think I already knew the answer to.
No, it's
I
fine.
just wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah.
I think it's important that this be something that your city manager, your finance department, and that your city council are aware of it, and that your city council is, and this is just, again, my opinion, I would, and my desire would be to see an adopted policy for fees, that we're only going to charge X amount percentage for youth sports. It may cost X amount of dollars, it may cost $100 for a kid to play, but the city's only going to allow a maximum of $50 to be charged, so that the city is subsidizing it. That way it is known throughout the organization from city council on down that the city covers 50% of the cost of all youth sports, or whatever it might be. I think that's very important, because I think it's showing good stewardship of city funds, and you're being very transparent to the community on this is what we do. It also means that you have a finite budget that you have to work within, because you know that you can't exceed the 50%. Likewise, you wouldn't be able to go below a certain percentage for like adult sports. You wouldn't be letting them off with 80% if it's supposed to be a 90 or 100% recovery. So that would be something I would love to see, is that this department have an approved fee schedule, and I think this is the right way to go. And with that said, if they've never had one before, this is going to take time. This is not going to be a one and done, and we're right on. We are flying an airplane, and it's a constant series of minor adjustments until we kind of find our destination. We know where it's at, and I think it's great that you're working on this, and I appreciate that staff have been helping you to do that. But I would say that this probably is going to change as you start to fine tune things. You'll discover, we don't need to charge so much, or boy, we really ought to charge a little more. And I think that's just something that everybody has to just take a breath and go, okay, that's what we got to do.
I feel like for 2027, as we enter as of January 1st, one thing that I've been mindful of over the past few times we've adopted fees, that City Council has really made recreation parks or community services a very, very important component. To the tune of 26% of the general fund, is really, really invested. What I hear you saying, which is even more important, is identifying what those cost benefits are and what that 26% is really yielding, right? And so I appreciate you understanding the longevity of it and kind of where we're going, primarily because what ends up happening is, or in just the short time that I've been here, is, oh man, we have a program starting. Let's get that fee on there. Let's get that fee on there, And so then all of a sudden we're like one off here. And I understand that concept of that's the way we've done things, because we want to catch it before the program starts. Mm-hmm. What I'm outlining here, in all fairness, is our fees are what the fees are until we get them right.
Yeah.
Well, proportionately in 2027 and accurately in 2028. Are we going to potentially lose out on a little bit of dollars? Possibly. But then at the same time, staff are intentional enough to be like, hey, look, if there's only one kid in a swimming lesson, I'm sorry. we're going to have to, mom, dad, parent, grandparent, guardian, would you be willing to move into a different class? And in all fairness, these are the steps that staff need to take to ensure that our classes are capacity and that our minimums are met. And if minimums aren't met, unfortunately, we will not be able to provide that class and or program.
And I think providing the justification for why those decisions are being made is very helpful for your city manager, your finance director, and ultimately your city council on maybe why something, why it cost more or why it didn't bring in the target revenue, and that you are trying to make that adjustment. And I would hope that all parties would be understanding of that. Doesn't mean that
I can,
they can
they definitely are.
I figure that they can fix that. The other thing too is that generally budgets are a reflection of values, and you put your money where things are most important. And when you say 26%, I would say that council and this organization value parks and recreation.
100%.
So, because that's not a small percentage. I've worked in organizations where it was, I mean, if we hit 15%, that was amazing. But 26%, that's good to hear. And I also think that's then why it's so much more important to try and dial it in so that this department isn't an unnecessary obligation on the general fund, because there are other things that they want to fund. The better you guys do managing your budget and bringing in revenue, the more confidence I think they'll have in wanting to continue to fund the department adequately and hopefully build your budget. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I completely agree. As part of that, two final things that I will present. Structurally, our city and our staff are hardworking individuals that are passionate about what they do, but financially there's a structural deficit. And as our revenues continue to stay flat and inflation impacts our expenses, the trajectory, both short and long term, there's going to be a greater gap. And so if we're unable to keep up with some of those expenses, unfortunately, in 5 to 10 years, we will be faced with potentially a $250,000 replaster of the pool, and these are things that we need to be mindful of as we move forward. And then finally, in closing, I think it is advantageous of us to really look at and hear from our residents, listen to our staff, and pay attention to what are the costs, what are the things that we're wanting to be able to support, because unfortunately, our general fund is general, right? And so if there is a conversation around adding a police officer, these are things that we're going to have conversations on. And I would prefer, in my recommendation as the director, to be like, okay, in some cases, where can we increase our revenue? Where are our opportunities, and where are certain threats that we can go ahead and mitigate so then we can kind of move forward in some of those pieces. With that said, I will leave this document with you guys. I'm not sure if we want to open it up for public comment. If people want to be able to share, please go ahead, Chair.
Opening up for public comment.
Good evening, Commission. My name's Jackie No. I don't know if you know, I served on the Park and Rec Commission for 10 years, chaired it for 9 years, so very passionate about this particular thing. I would like to thank Dennis for putting together this fee schedule. There's a lot of things that we never really knew how things worked, how things got paid for. They were given as big numbers, and so I think this entire city is really drilling down on the numbers, and I really appreciate this because it provides transparency to our residents and our budgeting and all those sorts of things. So thank you for that. I have a couple comments. Yes, with pickleball. I think that you should be inviting the pickleball community in here for that part of that conversation. I think you need to invite the neighbors. As in other communities, those of us who live high up on the hill listen to pickleball all day long. It doesn't mean there's not a solution, right? A lot of places across the country are coming up with the matting and the soundproofing that's helping quite a bit. There's solutions. So I think we just need to have those bigger conversations. As far as subsidizing youth sports, I know that sounds like a feel-good thing, but here's the thing that I'm going to bring up at City Council, and I want all of you to understand also, that a lot of our programs are utilized by county residents, not just city residents. So when you say, oh, we're going to subsidize it 50%, what you're telling these residents in the city is we're going to use your money to pay for the county residents because the county won't do it. I mean, basically, there's the bottom line. The county doesn't provide any recreation for county residents. So if we don't figure out how to do cost recovery, you're in essence making the city pay for the county. And I don't think that's particularly fair. I'm one person. But I think we need to really drill into understanding how many county residents we're serving in all of our programs. Maybe there's a cost difference of out of city and city residents. Other things I was looking at today was if I wanted to play disc golf down at Cameron Park Lake, I got to pay to park there. If I want to play disc golf at Finnan Lakes, I got to pay to park there. I'm not sure it's an achievable thing, but what if we had parking at Lions Park? You know, everyone's talking about how do we recover costs for people using the park, and parking might be one way for us to do that. And then you could offer your city residents, you know, either a sticker because they're a resident, or a discount, or parking passes, or, you know, whatever that looks like. But in terms of trying to figure out how to equalize that, that might be an opportunity. I don't know if it's realistic or not. But yeah, I think we need to do public outreach. I think we need to really look at who we're serving, because it's not fair for the city to have to take on what the county's not doing. And unfortunately, we have to recover that through the fees in order to equalize that. We have consistently asked the county for money to help with the pool, because I think the pool is about 70% county residents, and I don't think the county gave us anything this year. And we have an aging pool, and we have a lot of costs coming up. So, but when we have all the data to say, you know, this is what it costs to deliver the programs, this is what the percentage of city residents versus county residents, we can have a much solider conversation with the county, I believe, to say, hey, we're providing all this. And I've heard the Board of Supervisors say, oh, well, Cameron Park CSD, El Dorado Hills CSD, well, they're all getting money that we're not getting. So, you know, we need to really break it down, drill it down, so that we can have an apples to apples conversation and talk about everybody paying their fair share. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other
Jackie.
comments from the public? No? And just to clarify, I absolutely agree. I would not want to see us subsidize any non-city resident, but you and I had talked about that there might be some sort of city resident discount. That amount that you would anticipate would have to be figured if a subsidy were to be in place. This was all hypothetical, but appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you.
I think that's a good point, because on page 1 of the master fee schedule, up at the very top, there's gonna be a need for us to do some baseline costs. I mean, in all fairness, right? There's just certain regulations and restrictions that we have to follow. I can't just schedule a person for 1 hour and be like, hey, by the way, I mean, there's a minimum of 2 hours, you know? I can't not just pay them overtime, be like, hey, sorry, Todd, no overtime. You know, it's like there just are things we have to do, right, to be able to do that. And I think to Ms. Jackie's point around ensuring our residents within our community don't offset the cost of a non-resident, there has to be within that pyramid and within that fee structure a discount. Agencies utilize non-resident and non-resident discounts, and that has been a tradition. That's a typical industry model. I think for our community, where we're unique and we have certain specific amenities that actually do cost a little bit more, and ballpark, but kind of specific, I take the ballpark back, I misspoke, 70%? That's a pretty substantial number. It's not 10, it's not 5. So as part of that, if you notice our group categories in where Group A, and I didn't include the column Group A because Group A is city, I would have just had a whole column of all zeros. That was a joke, but so then I eliminated that part, right? And then Group B, which is some of our partners, which we partner with the school district, we partner with transit, that would be a separate fee. And nonprofit organizations, which we have great partners, and then users, which would be Group D. But then I believe, and this is my recommendation, we get some feedback and talk about it, to Ms. Jackie's point, when we put that pyramid together, we would be able to calculate, okay, if you are a city resident, this is your discount. If you can, show us, because you could be living across the street from someone and they be in the county versus, now you're in the city. So there's some administrative stuff that we'd have to do. But I think if it's open and people are willing, we should talk about a resident discount.
I do have one comment, if I may. Just on that, just a quick, because I think there is some education needs to be done with regards to city versus county, and I'm finding this out now too, just talking to people, asking them if they're a city resident. A lot of people think just because they have Placerville in the name that they're city residents. I'm sure you guys run into that all the time. And so I think that's a big deal as well, because people, wait, I live in the city. What are you talking about? But I don't know how that's a whole nother topic for discussion later on, how we would tell everybody about it. But
it's a challenge, but it's feasible.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for us to be able to do that, because I completely agree. I do not believe, from wherever I live, I don't want to be able to pay taxes where I live and then at the same time have to pay the same rate as somebody else when my taxes are going into already paying for the water and the power,
Right.
With that said, if there are any other questions, we're going to be working I am going to be actively working. I say that jokingly because Mo is sitting behind me and I've pulled on her like 10 times today. I hope the camera is focused on Mo because she's really embarrassed right now. But actively over the next few months, if you have feedback, make sure that you're able to kind of email me directly to avoid any, conspiracies, jokingly, but make sure that it's done in the right way. I would also like to recommend that as part of the community outreach and this, not just the fee schedule, but our future agenda item in regards to the community survey, would the commission be willing to potentially identify an ad hoc committee to help with some of that community outreach and get a little more specific with designing the pyramid and then going out and having community meetings, maybe on Saturdays or a different night of the week? I know a lot of you are very busy, so I don't want to put you on the spot, but I am. Is that something is anyone interested in? Is that a bad idea?
Is that an ask? Are you asking
It
us
is a
to form
polite voluntold.
an ad hoc?
Is it okay if I jump in? So I'll address that first. I think this is a good idea, the cost recovery. I have a business in town, and I'm very much a supporter of people need to pay their part. If you want to, for example, one of the things that came to mind with this fee schedule was the cost for the street closures.
Yeah.
There was some very clear increases, and the cost needed to be put on the persons wanting to do the street closure. That was just one little line on this probably very big chart here, and that took a lot of meetings, a lot of city council meetings, a lot of public feedback, and that was just one item. So again, kind of to my comment earlier, I think this is a really big endeavor when you really want to look at what does it take for cost recovery, because there's so many different items on here. So the idea of doing a public outreach on this specific topic, I think it's really broad, and that might be a little too soon to try to do that. I don't want to jump to the next part of our meeting here on the agenda, but I do know we have the community survey coming up. So I think that's going to be an opportunity to get a lot of feedback from the public on what is a priority. And I think it will help play into this goal of what is the model going to be going forward. I think it's a little too soon to pick it apart, and maybe we need, like you said, I know you're going to be working on it over the next few months, and maybe that should be the goal, is continuing to work on it and identify, is this model going to be just an automatic percentage? Are we going to try and tackle it line by line? Because city council has absolutely tackled some of these already line by line, and some of them ended up being very huge projects with public feedback. So that would be my thoughts on that. Is might be a little too soon for a separate, public meeting and outreach. I would like to see us kind of focus on the next agenda item, which for our public outreach is what is our survey going to be to the public to identify current goals and priorities. So that's my closing thoughts on that.
Thank you.
Okay, so to Commissioner Lujan's point, we could move on to item 5.5, since public input is important for this type of thing, and maybe that would precede the forming of any sort of ad hoc committee. All right, so if we may, we'll go ahead and we'll conclude item 5.4, and we'll move on to item 5.5, Recreation Parks Community Survey. Director Nishihara.
I feel like I'm talking a lot, so I'm going to try to get through this as briefly as possible and not joke around too much, but I feel like a cook in the kitchen who's added too much flavor, and we've talked about this thing intensely, and so without going too far, I did modify the survey based on some of the feedback we went through back in April of 1985. I'm sorry, April 2026. The current survey is a total of 10 questions. 2 of them are not required questions. They're in your attachments as part of that packet. The 2 questions that are not required or have not currently been set to be required are items 9 and 10 in regards to you would like to learn more and be on our listserv as part of the email. And question number 10, which is please help me verify my address as a City of Placerville resident. Meaning if they want us to be able to identify, and then they would complete that section, question number 10, provide us their address, and we would be able to verify on whether or not. So then that way we would have data. Who is living within the City of Placerville, and are we able to compare that to our current database? Most of the other questions are basically based on a Likert scale from never to regularly and or excellent to poor. With that said, you do have hard copies, and we do have digital capabilities to be able to allow you to view it on your device. I'm available for questions or feedback if you have any.
I have a couple questions. This seems to be pretty generic survey. So when we're asking, and it couples to your costs, right? Number 2, when you're asking, have you visited a park, walk, trail, visited a creek? Which one? You want to break it, I think you want to break it down. I understand you want to keep as small survey as possible, but you need to break it down. What are they doing? Did they visit a park? Which park? They walked a trail. What part of the trail? How about a program? What program? We don't know. And I don't know, it's so general that when you're looking at proposed fee schedules, I'm not sure they partner very well.
I like the survey in its simplicity. I think in today's day and age, people's attention span, people like short, quick, and I think if we have an overly detailed survey, we might lose interest. I did notice number 2 as well. I did think that it should be maybe perhaps separated. If the goal is to find out the frequency from the public, how often do you visit a park or walk the trail or visit the creek, and then maybe separating enrolling a program into a separate question, because I kind of feel like they're 2 different things. So if somebody answers a question, it's like, well, are they talking about that they regularly visit the parks 5 times, or do they go to the, one of the programs 5 times? I think it would be nice to maybe separate that question. That one did catch my attention when I reviewed this. And the other question that caught my attention was number 9. I thought it was a little too simple. I would like to learn more. All information shall be kept confidential. So is the goal to get them on a, send them information? Is the goal to send them the packet? Is the goal for them to subscribe to the city agendas? If they fill that out, are they going to get all the agendas? So I think 9 could be a little more specific is, I would like to learn more. Please send me, the, community packet, the Parks and Recreation packet. Is that the goal? Is the goal for them to be on a agenda list? It was just unclear to me. It's like, what is it they want to learn more about? And I think inform them, what are they signing up for specifically? Is it that we're going to mail them the packet, or is it something else? Or so I think I do like simplicity. I think if we want people's attention and to do the survey, I think keeping it short and sweet, but maybe there's a couple little adjustments. But then the number 9, I would say, needs to be more clear. What are they learning more about? Are they subscribing to something, or are they being mailed something? And then 2, I think it could be broken up and into maybe an additional question, or 2A and a 2B, something like that, just to narrow it down. Thank you.
I would agree on number 9. Maybe it could be, I would like to learn more about recreation and parks programs, something like that. So it's more specific about what they're, what it is you're going to be sending them via email. I know that I'm always unsubscribing to things I don't want. So, and then are you using a survey program that uses logic where if you click, how often, that it would then, it could give you options. Maybe that's where they could have a selection of parks they visited, or, that way if they don't click that one, it just moves on. But if they click on regularly up to 5, well, they could either fill in the 5, which I'm not sure I could, because I'm not sure I would get the names right. But maybe if they had a selection where they could just click those little buttons on which parks, that might be helpful. At least it would give you more information. It would satisfy what Commissioner Potter and Commissioner Lujan are getting at.
Going back to what I mentioned earlier about the city of Placerville, maybe with the help me verify, maybe a brief little, like, hey, just because you have Placerville in your address maybe doesn't necessarily mean you live in the city. And do we have the technology to be able to verify that right away if they put their information in? And it would tell them?
Capabilities to identify. I believe the phrase "right away" is a little subjectional at this point.
No, I'm talking about like if they put their address in and hit submit, it would say you are not a city. No, okay. And then the only other thing, and this is just such a nitpicky thing, but the interested in participating in maybe could be reworded to be, what types of recreational activities would you be interested in? So that way,
Question is that?
number 5. It just doesn't fall off the tongue very well. That's just me being a picky person. Yeah.
I like it.
Just also, to Larissa's point, you want to keep it brief, but when I'm reading this, we have 7 parks. How would you rate the physical condition of the parks? Most people go to 1 or 2 parks. They don't go to all 7. So which park? So when filling this out, maybe you want to jot down which park. There's 7 of them. So, and 2,
Or the general condition of the parks.
or the gen.
Overall, how would you rate the quality of our parks? But you're wanting to know if they have you'd like to know if you're talking about City Park, we want to know you're talking about City Park.
Well, which park?
Or-
Because if this is helping with these, we need to know what exactly parks they're going to. So that's just me, how I think.
So if we would just list it all.
Maybe a simple way to
Like, yeah, you have
Well,
you show all the parks and you just click the park that you go to.
could, or just underneath that, you could say
Fill in-
additional comments. Please include which park you're referencing, or something like that, and just have a box for additional comments, because then it gives the public the freedom to express what's on their mind.
That's programs as well.
specifically. So I think just doing a additional comment box, I think would help. And you could put in parentheses, please include which park you're discussing in your specific comments or your additional comments. Something like that might help.
And with number 9, I think you need to have, as Andre was saying, you need to have buttons, which are you interested in? You have to have mark something that you're interested in. And number 10, I think it's mandatory. Fill it out. Why hide it? So I want to know if you're living in the Placerville City or outskirts. We need to know that.
That's a good point.
I like the drop-down window idea too, because if you look at the park question, we could potentially put that in there and have the parks be selected.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, Jackie has a question.
Well, let's go ahead and open that up to, Dennis, is there anything else before we go to public comment?
No, let's go to public
Okay,
comment.
public comment.
Chair, if you're comfortable, I'd like to pass out copies.
I like it. Thank you. Look at
Thank you. I put a lot of thought into this.
so you're hired.
Also, this isn't 100% my idea. Here's what I did. I went and looked at the 2017 Parks and Trails Master Plan and looked at the survey that they put out. So a lot of this is based on that particular survey. But if you look at the 2017 survey that was put out, they also looked at Lotus, Coloma, Diamond Springs, Pollock Pines. And so we never got what are our residents focused on? What are they interested in? And when we're looking at programming and moving forward, we pay the salaries there, right? They comes out of our general fund. I feel like they should be focused on what the city residents want to be focused on. The county residents will still benefit, right? We're not going to exclude them. But when we're really looking at focusing on what we should be focusing on, we should be asking our residents. That's who I represent. That's who elects me. And I appoint you guys based on the same thing, that we're going to look at, the best interests of our residents. And not that there isn't a bigger picture. There is a bigger picture. But so many of these questions are based on that survey that was put out almost 9 years ago. So it's about time for a 10-year update anyways. So if we use something like this that was a little bit broader, when someone comes in to do a park update, we've essentially done this portion of it for them. Then there are other aspects in here that are a little bit more city-centric and things that are coming up. Like there's a question about the city pool on page 2. We're talking about that. Let's get our feedback from our residents. We're about to launch the Adopt a Trail program. Let's put it in the survey. Who's interested in signing up? Who thinks doing Adopt a Park's a good idea? This is an opportunity. I know short is always good, but this is pretty easy with the check marks, as you were saying. You can just go through. It has the comments. If you want to give more input, you have the opportunity to give more input. And then, of course, asks about the residency and all that. So, like I said, I didn't sit at home and come up with all these brilliant ideas. I took the survey that was already given that we should be due for an update to help us focus on our city stuff, and lots of room for our residents to comment and give feedback. I think that you all know people in your neighborhood. We all know I think if we really put an effort out, we can get a lot of city resident feedback that will help you guys make decisions and recommendations driving the programming forward. And so that's kind of my thought behind all that I did. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Jackie. And I think there is a concern that we don't want to put out a survey that's too long.
I agree.
But to Jackie's point, we need to get the information, and you need the information. So while the return might not be as big as you want, my thought was, does the city have the ability, this is not this is a question that's probably answering itself. Does the city have the ability to mail to only city residents? The answer is probably yes.
In the water bill.
In the water bill. So if that's the case, we may not even need to ask those questions at the end here. Are you a city resident? Because you'd only be sending this to city residents if that's all, agreed. We have a sphere of influence that brings people from outside of the city to use our pool, our facilities. I've got friends in Shingle Springs and Cameron Park who come up and play softball here. But we're wanting to get information from city residents. So if we're only sending it to city residents, then maybe we can knock that part off and think of a little more robust survey to get information from our residents.
May I ask Jackie a question?
Yeah.
Hey, Jackie, has there ever been a survey, the 2017 survey, did that go into the water bill? It did not. How did they pass that along?
There was a company who was hired to do that update, and they had one community meeting where they, asked those questions, and they phoned people randomly. But you had, Placerville is 40,000 people. The city of Placerville is a little under 11,000. So there was never a focus on our residents, on what we needed. And so appreciate Dennis coming up with the ideas. And I don't know, maybe the online is the best, maybe the water bill is the best, but this is our opportunity to really, hone in on what do you guys want? What moving forward, even the ideas about pie in the sky, what facilities and things like that. We have an older community, and I don't know that we've ever really focused on senior activities and senior stuff that perhaps we could do a better job if we got good feedback and asked the right people. We have Eschaton, we have a whole community, there's some pretty active people in there that we could say, hey, can you give these to your residents? And, we put a lot of effort into this to try to come up with the best results.
Thank you.
I think both online and mailing it would be great. I mean, I never look at mail, but if there was, on the webs or Facebook or whatever, there was the link to it, whatever, that would probably catch my attention, probably more than the water bill. But there's a lot of people that don't go online, so I think double duty.
So I'm all for not reinventing the wheel. I like the way this is presented. I like this packet. I like that it does have the details for the people that want to fill it out. And I like that the ability to fill it out is quick and fast with check marks. And for people who do want to say more, that they have the comments section. So if we're here voting on the survey, I mean, I would be for moving this update on what was already done previously. And then I think not paying a company to do something like that, because that's just, we don't want to try to keep pulling money out of the air when the city's already having some challenges with budgets. So if we're looking for a vote or if we're looking for a recommendation, I would say moving forward, I like this little packet. I mean, obviously I haven't gone through each line in detail, but I'd like to see something like this move forward. And I think scheduling a meeting to do more informal public input like has been done with other hot topics in the past. And then I think giving the public the ability, maybe I don't know how expensive it is to mail to all the residents the water bill, but maybe in the water bill including a QR code, because that is faster for people. And then at the public event, having the ability to fill out the packet, having it dropped off there, and then for people who would like to stay for maybe a more specific discussion of these questions, that opportunity is made at the meeting. Because to me, this looks detailed, looks like the information we need, and I think we could get moving forward with more specifics, which I think those specifics might be what you need to help narrow down your master fee schedule and kind of get that moving forward. So that would be my recommendation. So I'll leave that up to the group.
So your ask was that we would review and approve final community survey for distribution. It sounds like we're saying that we would like to see the commission would like to see the more robust survey used. So is that something, you've been at this for a while. Was this time sensitive for you to be getting this out, or?
I'll be honest, my mind's kind of blown. I mean, at the same time, it's advantageous of us to cast a good net, right? I mean, if we're going to do it,
Yep, do it right.
you do it right or touch it twice,
Okay.
you know? And in retrospect, as I reflect back, there had been components of the focus being primarily on some of those services. I think Jackie brings up a great point. I think we could digitize this. I'll take a look at it a little further. I think we could definitely delve into it. I absolutely agree that we will not hire someone to do it. And so that's the dichotomy of kind of where
Right.
I'm at, right? So I reach out and I grab what I need right now so I can kind of do some of these things. And then 3, 4 years from now, when we have to redo the master plan, all of a sudden we're doing another one.
Right. Would you be able to bring back a revision to us in August for us to review and endorse?
Yeah, because I after looking at this thing, I'm kind of kicking myself for not really looking at the 2017 a little further, because that had been the goal last year.
right.
Looking at the master plan, if
Right.
you kind of reflect back, like, hey, let's do this piece, and we're like, well, let's chunk it, right? But I really like this. I mean, I can't really say anything about it. It's a great.
Well, a couple of us did talk about this very survey. It was just the whole concern about, are they, how do we know they're within the city, if they're a city resident? Is it too long? I think the discussion tonight has been very helpful for us to, I think, wrap our heads around what we really would like to see.
I think in all fairness, we're in a different place too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When we first started the survey conversation,
Yeah.
I think that this is.
And it's, sorry to interrupt, it
No,
is
not at all.
still, it is on this packet that has been provided to us at the end. Please list your name and address to verify city residency. Only verified city residents will be counted in the survey. So we're asking people for that.
But if it goes right to them and they're a city resident, we don't even need to ask that question.
True.
Yeah, but if we have a public meeting, some people that are
public
interested in
meeting.
public parts might not.
Yeah.
Sure.
Actually, but, and so I think it's so maybe a little adjustment there, because we can, to say it won't be counted, like, what if somebody who's, like, again, as Jackie mentioned, we have 70-something% of the public using the city pool that doesn't live in the city, but they might have good feedback on the city pool to say. So to say we wouldn't count it in their survey might be a little aggressive. So maybe just some minor tweaks on that is what I would recommend, because I know if I was using a facility all the time, I would hope that my voice would be heard and my feedback wouldn't be considered valuable enough because I live on the wrong side of the street. So I would say minor adjustments there, but otherwise my recommendation is maybe with some minor tweaks, I'd like to see this packet move forward and get a public meeting scheduled to get more direct feedback. And then I think it'd be easier to put us in helpful positions on helping facilitate that if you need us to do public outreach or what it might be. And then again, I do think the ripple effect is it will help you narrow down your fee schedule as well.
Yes, and to add to that, I would revisit the inquiry regarding ad hoc so that we can tighten it up. To be fair, I think August is fair. I think if we're able to also identify.
So that's doable, August, or?
I think so, based on the framework that Jackie was
Okay.
able to provide and revisit from 2017, digitizing it and then making it tangible at the same time. I
And-
think that there are two different types of individuals, someone who can work on their iPhone to be able to do some of that, and then someone who wants to
Okay.
write it out. I think we'll have to be able to do some of those things. I think as part of that community outreach piece, we can wait until August to identify community date meetings and ad hoc, and after, as we go through that.
You know your workload better than anybody, so you tell us what's doable.
This has to be at the top of the list. I mean, in all fairness, the fee schedule is
Right.
what I feel is one of the greatest priorities, aside from Christmas.
Okay, so you'd like an ad hoc committee right now?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it would be, it would help me to be able to kind of bounce stuff off of people and be like, hey, this is where we're going. Am I missing? Do I have 2 ends? Or are there 3 ends? It's a joke, but it's true.
So, who's interested in being on an ad hoc committee?
I will. So I'll do that. I'm fine with that. Hey, Dennis,
Yeah.
I know a little pressure on you. Is there, seeing that we're looking at this pamphlet that Jackie has passed out, what is the possibility of having this to us before, like a week or two? We can possibly even take it, print it out, and I can walk up and down the street and ask my neighbors, say, what do you think about this? Would you fill this out for me?
Yeah, like a sampling.
Yep. That is well, I understand that. But can you do that?
I think the ad hoc committee can do, anything it wants to do in order to help
I think
the
you should have this.
director out.
I think you should have this to me next week.
Commissioner Wendell says he's not going to have enough time. Commissioner Lujan, are you interested in being on the ad hoc?
Is it for this survey or is it for the
Survey.
fee schedule?
Survey.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that I can,
So Commissioners Potter and Lujan will be your ad hoc committee.
Great. I didn't have to post for you guys to walk up and down and talk about it. I'm just saying. Helps. I'm good. Unless there's any other questions, Ms. Jackie?
Okay?
I'm already losing my hair, man.
All right, so I think we've exhausted 5.5. We'll move on to 5.6, department update. Dennis?
Someone very wise told me a couple of times, we would really like to see what you guys have been up to, and your updates are good, but we want to see photos too. But Mr. Steve, if I could ask for some technical support. Apparently, I'm not that tech savvy. I apologize for the delay. For those of you watching at home, grab a drink. We'll be here. Yep. Sorry for the delay. Thank you for tuning in. Sorry about the delay. I apologize. This is a part of the director's update, but it is also a forum for feedback and for questions and answers. But I do want to start by highlighting how amazing the community service department staff have been. Monique, for example, behind me, and obviously you met our intern and Wendy and Guy and everyone at the pool. Like, everyone's just done a fantastic job. As some of you may or may not know, in July, we did face our second year of layoffs, unfortunately. And within the last 2 years, we have downsized by 4 full-time positions. And we continue to have another staff person on leave. So we are a mighty little group of passionate recreation and parks professionals ready to serve. And for those of you who don't know, we also play a part in decorating our wonderful downtown. And here, compliments of Mr. Chair Commissioner Wendell, is our new lights on downtown. Now, new meaning seasonal for the 4th of July. We are also part of helping to beautify and celebrate the 250-year anniversary. So a couple of highlights over the last few months. If you notice, again, compliments to Miss Monique in regards to the design of our banner, and thank you to EcoSigns for helping us to decorate not only Old Town City Hall, but City Hall itself. Fun fact, we were able to purchase static 4th of July street pole banners without the 250 identified on there. That's a cost-saving measure for us. So the approximate 14 light poles downtown, only 4 of them say 250, of which I would like to eventually see if people would be interested in donating to have one of the 4 Placerville ones. Other than that, I do want to very much thank Mr. Thomas from the pharmacy downtown, who personally helped me hang those bunting up there at the very top. Yeah, it was very fun. We were also able to, before the 4th of July, pressure wash downtown. As many of you may notice, these are our infamous and famous trash cans downtown. On the left-hand side, you will notice that there is some debris there collecting, primarily because there is a grate there, or what I like to call the trash net. On the right-hand side, me and Todd have a sampling of a few of those trash nets that we removed. If you can notice, there's still some debris on the right-hand side, but much less than the left. That basically just helps us to get the trash out there at a more specific basis. But hopefully our merchants downtown appreciate it, and we were able to work with Cyclone to be able to wash those streets downtown. And we were able to get the sidewalks clean. And if you are also, thank you to Tyler and Todd for going down there and replacing our existing tree well vegetation with drought-tolerant landscaping. So that is our active gentleman there. Look at him, working really hard, setting those stones in place to make sure that our downtown looks beautiful. They are glued in, and I will go into that more in my presentation, so thank you for asking. And our wonderful aquatics center staff. One big piece this year, yes, rousing round of applause. Guy who was a huge advocate for rash guards to help with some of the inclement weather, with the heat, with the rash guards, and the shorts, which is a huge fan for making our staff not only presentable but professional. To be honest with you, it looks amazing to have them out there, all standardized and working diligently hard on at our aquatic center. Here is a few data points for our swim lessons. If you notice, at the beginning of the year, Mr. Packy paid a visit downtown near a store infamous store there in the background. I don't know if you noticed that, but there's our interim rec supervisor, Mr. Guy, myself and Packy. For the AM lap swim, which we remember this year we added 2 sessions. We added an AM and a PM, and we kind of combined it. Our morning numbers have been around 15, and then our evening numbers have been around 9. For those individuals who don't know what this is at the bottom, that is called a digital clock to help certain individuals who are unable to tell an analog clock. Now that is installed on the deck at our pool. Our aquatic center will close on Labor Day, which will be the last day of the extended season on September 7th. And very, very important to pay attention to this year, 84% capacity. So on average, our capacity for swim lessons weekly is about 220. We've been really pushing that, and we've been around 85%. We've been really hitting those minimums, and that is a part of our dedicated staff, Miss Ashley, who has been assigned as part of the aquatic staff to make sure that we're making phone calls on Thursday to remind families, don't forget your swimming lesson is on Monday, and then we're auditing, attendance sheets on Monday, and then Tuesday morning, and we're really, really honing in, and our average has been fairly high, around 85%, 84%. Which is pretty good. Meanwhile, back at the pool, there's our all-star Aiden there, if you notice. We've had about a total of approximately 2,100 visitors throughout the summer. And we passed our slide inspection, which thank you very much to Mr. Tyler and Randy for your service. And as we move into some of our new programming, staff were able to acquire our Adopt a Trail, which is currently in retrofit action, purchased locally here at the Tractor Supply Store, which not only saved us mileage, but we were able to purchase it within the city of Placerville. So that was very nice. Staff did a great job. What's next? As they say, when it rains, it pours. There was a little cat picture there that I took out, but anyway. The caboose is on our agenda as part of our future initiative to figure out what do we want to do with this area. The Community Service Department has been kind of responsible to help with some of the graffiti, to make sure that we're securing the building and picking up the debris. We really do kind of treat it like a pocket park. We are currently in the process of working with the Art and Culture because they actually have items within that caboose that we're going to get removed, and then we're going to try and go ahead and secure it. One of the ideas is to potentially turn it into a pet respite area for individuals who are walking their animals downtown. There are, from what I've learned, and I've had fun conversations with our chairperson, there are very, very responsible pet owners who constantly pick up their pet waste, and there are, unfortunately, the less than compliant individuals. And so this may or may not be something that we want to consider for that particular area. But again, when we really tighten up what our expenses are and the things that we're maintaining and then prioritizing it, is this something that the community wants to be able to maintain and uphold? Because it does cost us in the general fund to be able to do that. So those are some of the next steps that we'll want to be able to consider as we move forward within the next year. A couple of things to note and around town are social media present. Our pickleball camps have been very successful. I don't know if you've noticed some of the comments online. People are very excited about some of those camps that we're able to do. We were able to hang, if you notice that center picture in the middle, we were finally able to hang one. The high school had kind of designed that. They designed two for us. There's one located on the downtown restrooms, and this is the secondary one up at our wonderful Goldbug Park and Mine. And again, that highlight of the swim in which we passed. And our wonderful staff there for Parks and Recreation Month. And to Mr. Wendell's question, are the rocks glued? Yes, they are, with ground grip and liquid nail. So we've added a few of those things. Some things I do want to share with you around accountability, and a few things that I'm sure many of you have heard of or talked about with your neighbors or your residents. I'll start with the Mosquito Park and Ride. Mosquito Park and Ride is a very important component of one of our facilities and one of the locations that we mandate. Unfortunately, there is a heavy wear and tear on that particular use, primarily because of transients and or unsheltered. So we are currently trying to work on a better way to manage that heavy use. And I say heavy use because the transit utilizes that facility fairly regularly, and they have a very good populace that comes through that area. So there'll be more on that to come, but I bring some of this to you because I also want to press on the community and our residents. If you see something, please say something. 311.org, if you're able to get online to our website, if you see something out there, take a picture, report it. The more people who have buy-in and are informative help us out. And I know, Mr. Andre, you're very good about these things. Let us know what's out there. There might not be a lot of us, but we need to know what's out there so we can go ahead and fix some of those things. And if you find the individual who keeps spraying VF on stuff, I'm being serious, it's everywhere, call us, because it's on our trail, it's in a lot of different places, okay? And as something that's a little more important that I really want to impress upon you, our aquatic center gets a lot of use. One of the days we had over 250 individuals during our public swim, right? And we've been very strategic about how to schedule some of those things. But with every popular landmark or with every popular amenity, there are also individuals who may not have the best interests of the general population in mind. With that said, on this photo you see before you, there is a list of rules outside of our public facility, and one of those rules is that behavior is subject to manager approval. I have had, on occasion this summer, made some very difficult decisions in regards to not allowing individuals to participate in certain programs, primarily because of accountability. I've made those decisions in clearance with our city manager to not only protect the liability of the city, but to protect our families and to protect our children. Whether I am right or wrong, I would rather make the wrong decision for the right reason. So, as one of those rules changes, if you notice on our sign, we had actually changed the age of independent participants, meaning prior to the change, children 10 years old and older were able to swim at Public Swim without an adult. I've actually since changed that to 13. I feel that it's more appropriate, I feel that it is safer, and I feel it is advantageous of our safety and our staff's well-being to make sure that minors who are accompanied by an adult are 10 and under, and are 13 and under, and individuals who are teenagers who can hopefully self-regulate, be able to participate in a lot of in aquatics programs during Public Swim by themselves. If you have any questions, my office is open. You're more than welcome to email me. You're more than welcome to call me. I will make time in my day to let you know why I'm making these decisions. But I do want to go on record that these are some of the things that we're not just holding VF accountable for, painting on the wall, but we're also holding our patrons accountable for being respectful and responsible while they participate in our programs. With that said, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But again, thank you very much to all of our staff and their hard work. We cannot do it without them.
Thank you. And you said a wise person. I didn't know there was somebody else who made the request. Thought it was just me. So I really feel it's important that we get some imagery to have a better understanding of what it is you guys are doing, through your office and in the field. So thank you very much for that. Any comments or questions?
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right, then we'll go from 5.6 to item 6, future agenda items. You've got a list here, Dennis. We can read for ourselves. Is there anything you want to highlight, or have you kind of covered it already?
This is a new component to the agenda. I don't know if you noticed in past agendas. I have a grandiose plan, and I don't want to lose traction, so very similar to what City Council, if you notice on their agendas, I'll include this future agenda items, so then that way people kind of know that these are the things that we're working on, so that we understand that there's traction and we're not just not doing stuff.
Sure. Okay. All right. Thank you. So our next meeting is going to be on Tuesday, August 18th, correct? That's what it says here, 5 p.m.
Correct.
So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Potter. Do we have a second? Second from Commissioner Wendell, a second from Commissioner Potter. All in favor? Aye. All right, we are adjourned.